Hello, hello.
Hi.
I'm on an incredibly squeaky chair today,
Fair
so
enough.
apologies if that is annoying during the recording. I will try and sit very, very still.
It's all right. You can squeak on your chair, and I'll go make myself a brew and swallow into a microphone that I currently don't have.
That sounds weird. Okay, good. This is just listener. This is just to highlight our professionalism that I'm on a squeaky chair. Wes's microphone broke this morning. So we'll get through it. It's all part of the great fabric that brings our podcast together.
Yeah, because we're definitely not professional.
No, anything but.
I just thought the news.
Go on.
Edinburgh University. I'm going to blag
Mhm.
this. I can't be bothered looking for it because that's going to be rubbish and it'll
Ooh.
struggle for you to edit. Edinburgh University students have voted against a vegan menu plan because of their choice of thinking that meat products would be healthier and would be more cost effective. Oh, I know, I know.
Oh, I can't put into words the face that I just pulled.
No,
I mean,
it
come
looked like your face
on.
was crunched up like a bit of paper. That's the big
Yeah, that's
thing.
yeah. I mean, come on.
Yeah, there are towns that have been in social media news. There are other universities that have been in social media news. They are making big positive changes, and then Edinburgh University just go and go and all that. It's like,
Yeah, that's frustrating.
yeah, but they'll come round when they realise that they're wrong.
Mm,
Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but that
however wrong it is.
that one is wrong, most
Yeah,
definitely.
it is frustrating. And my concern at the moment is how long it's taking people to come round.
Okay,
That's the thing for me, that there's so much evidence out there and it just seems so obvious. But then I was in the same boat up until 5 years ago.
yeah, absolutely.
But it,
However, there are more
yeah,
there are more people realising. I'm having
yeah,
I'm seeing more conversations of people actually showing an interest.
yeah,
And
that's true.
as we've said before, and I say it whenever I speak to people, I'm not going to try and change you. I'm just going to try and sow a seed, and that's all I'm going to do. I'm not.
Hmm.
If people want to be arsy with me, then that's up to them. I've given up with people that are arsy to me now.
Mm.
Um, but if I can have a conversation with people that might just make them think differently, then that's all I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's all you can do in a
I
lot of
share
ways,
stuff
isn't
on
it?
social media, like we discussed with other guests and stuff. If I see something on my phone, I'll share it. And if you don't
Hmm.
like, either scroll past or unfriend me because I really couldn't give two shits anymore. So I'm like, whatever.
Talking of social media,
Hmm.
I really enjoyed your post on Saturday on Facebook where you reposted an Elwood's dog meat post about having a leg of lab
Yes.
and how much you were looking forward to it. And somebody, I won't say who, but somebody commented, "Glad you're having a nice weekend,"
Yes.
which
I'm
which was so funny. It's
having a
like,
lovely weekend.
yeah, I'm having a lovely weekend eating this Labrador. Oh dear, it just that was just so funny. It was just like they just completely have not got that at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been slagged off recently as well for because when I sort of first announced it to some people that I was vegan, so I went. So I'm not one of them preachy vegans. Definitely, I'm not like that at all. I'll have a conversation with you, but I'm not preachy. And now because
Yeah,
that's pretty much all I share on social media, they're like,
yeah,
"Video, you told us you were like that." I'm not. I'm not preachy preachy. I'll still have a conversation with you, but I am going to share it on social media because it's
Yeah,
annoying.
yeah, absolutely. Like you say, you're just trying to sow that seed in someone's head that they might just one day go, ah, now I get it. And that's sometimes all it takes.
Yeah, yeah. You might share the same thing over and over again. You might share something different, but that one moment someone turned, and it has happened where someone's gone. It was that post just made me think about it. Has it made a
Yeah,
difference to the person? Probably not. And they just said that I know that in that instance they're still eating meat. But if it can just give someone an idea, then the activism's done.
yes, absolutely. Okay. Now, Wes, tell us about our guest today because this is one that you've
It
organised.
is. So
So, who have we got?
last year we were at Vegan Camp Out, which I think we might have
Yeah,
mentioned once or twice
it
on.
has popped up.
And in the children's area, or in the family area, should I say, there was a activity tent, and one of the ladies that was running that activity tent was a lovely lady called Laura Chetner, who we have been messaging back and forth trying to sort this out, and she's on today. So Laura
Wow.
is a vegan educational specialist, so she helps children understand veganism and help parents support their children and families into veganism. Also, can I do a big shout out to
Of course. Whoever you want.
the bearded vegan one? Now he's not
Yes.
Matt. Matt, the bearded vegan, he is awesome. He's a legend, and his Mrs. Louise is also equally legendary. Me and him messaged a little bit, and I just said, "I think you're great, and I love your content." He needs like a bit of a mental health advocate as well, and he's just awesome. And he may or may not listen, but if he is, I think he's great. And he's down on the south coast, and I've tried to get him to come up here for a burger, but he said it's too far away. He knows
Yeah,
all,
that's fair.
but just a big shout out to him because he's really cool.
Awesome. Okay.
And he hasn't asked for that. I'm just doing it on the off chance he might listen. And then if he does listen, he'll go, yay! And it'll all be good.
So this is another episode that you've arranged, another guest, sorry, that you've arranged. This is 4 now that you've set up, and they're all women.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There's a
I've
pattern
asked, I've
emerging
asked
here.
Matt, I've asked Matt to come on and he didn't reply. So if he listens
Yeah.
to this, he can say yes.
While we're waiting for Laura, how
Yeah.
about we just say, if you want to get in touch, you can find us on any of the social media platforms, where you will find a link to our link tree where you can get in touch. You can tell us the questions that we're not asking that you'd like us to ask.
Or the
You can
question
suggest,
you don't want us to ask.
yes, absolutely. You can suggest some guests that you'd like us to have on.
Request yourself as a guest.
You can volunteer yourself as tribute. No, as a guest,
Tribute.
or you could send us an email. Wes, how would you do that?
It's been a while actually, hasn't it? So yeah, if you
Yeah,
get in touch and you want to send us an email, which is almost slightly old school now, just email us at howiveganpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. There
hi
you are.
Laura.
How you guys doing?
Not too bad. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I'm glad we could manage to get a date together for this. Thank you for your patience.
That's right. That's right. I took me time getting in touch with you for the follow up, didn't I?
We're here now. That's
We
the
are
main.
here now. Yes.
That's it. We've made it. Nice to meet you virtually. Wes has told me a lot about some of the stuff that you were doing at Camp Out last year, especially,
Aye.
which I was at, but didn't have my children with me, so I didn't go in the family
lucky
field because I
you.
thought that'd be weird. Lucky.
Lucky you. None of my children are coming this year. I've just told them they're not allowed.
You're just going to enjoy it.
I'm going to try my best outside of working hours to enjoy it. Yeah, hopefully so.
Yeah, we're both looking forward to it, aren't we, Wes?
Yeah. I've told my youngest she's not coming. My eldest two can. They can go off and do their own thing. You go off and find something.
Well, that's it. That's it. When they're independent, they're no trouble. But mine are too young, unfortunately. So they are trouble.
Okay, right. I'm going to do a little intro if that's okay.
Of course.
And then we'll crack on. So our guest today is, according to her Instagram bio, the UK's first vegan education specialist, which we're definitely going to talk about, and is also the Vegan Society's education officer and chair of their education network. Our guest is Laura. Welcome.
Sorry, my sound just cut off then. I do apologize. Was that
I
the
could have said
where I
everything,
should have said
anything.
hi and welcome? It all froze momentarily. I'm so sorry.
I
What
could
he
have said
said was
anything there.
absolutely right. That's everything that I do. I agree completely.
Fantastic.
It's amazing.
Okay, so tell us then, what is a vegan education specialist?
So, in a former life, I used to be a primary school teacher. And one of the things that I used to focus on was inclusion and ensuring that every child mattered, because I was also the coordinator for children with special educational needs in the school where I predominantly worked. Fast forward a few years later, when my own daughter joined school, she was denied vegan food. And then there also started to become this conflict in my mind of, I've become vegan, I have a vegan child, they won't give her vegan food. And also the curriculum is really unfriendly towards vegans as well. I actually left the profession just before my daughter started because I felt that my ethics were clashing with the curriculum too much. And then I had this inner battle of, well, now my daughter's learning a curriculum that I wasn't comfortable teaching. And there was nobody out there who could help me. So I devised my own program off the back of what I'd learned in the profession myself and the experiences that my daughter was now having, because I wasn't vegan as a teacher until the very end when I left. And so I devised a program where I would go into my daughter's school. I used them as kind of my, can I try this thing on you? And I did a staff training session where I basically spoke to the teachers that she was about to have about what it meant to be vegan inclusive, and kind of theorized vegan inclusive teaching and vegan inclusive education, which then turned into me writing a book on the subject, having that published, which then turned into me offering my services more nationwide, and then found myself traveling up and down the United Kingdom, going into schools and nurseries, colleges, not universities yet, but it's on my list, and just doing training in just basically what it means to be vegan, what it means to be a vegan young person or child in education where nobody understands veganism. And through my knowledge and experience, just tried to spread the word. And I think that's the best way to really describe what a vegan inclusion education consultant does. I was the only one. It's very lengthy and wordy. And thankfully now, just working for the Vegan Society, doing a similar role and much more, I'm considered the education officer. So that rolls off your tongue a little better.
Yes. Okay. So how did the work with the Vegan Society come about then?
So they just spotted me on the radar of what they were doing. They have an amazing person who works there, who is Dr. Jeanette Rowley, who works as their advocacy officer and has done for many years, supporting vegans who feel they've been discriminated against, and especially in the public sector. And every now and then I would just draw upon her experiences. I would email her, ask her questions, because she's an expert in everything that is law and rights. And every now and then I'd have a parent or guardian come to me with a question that I just couldn't answer or wasn't comfortable answering without conferring with her. So she and I became this almost partnership over the years of us working together, but separately. And then I think we had a conversation one day that was just basically, why don't you have an education officer? Or why isn't there anybody at the Vegan Society who's education focused? And she kind of scratched her head and then started advocating for either myself or somebody else like myself to come in and do something like that. And so she and the trustees created the role of education officer. And I thought, I may as well apply for it. Seeing as how the person specification matched pretty much everything that I'd been doing over the years. Thankfully, I got it. And I've been there just over a year now.
That's fantastic.
Fantastic.
So what sort of feedback do you get in schools then?
So the schools that I visited in the past, it's always been positive. The head teachers around this country, nursery leaders, anybody who is in a power of authority in any kind of education place, if they are worth their salt, will always want somebody to come in and talk about inclusion and how they can be better and have better practices. But occasionally there's been a little bit of anticipation and a bit of worry. I've not had the warmest of welcomes occasionally because they just don't know. They think I might go in there with pictures of slaughtered pigs and make them all feel as though they make dreadful life choices, when in actual fact that's never been anything that I've wanted to do. I'm going in and I want them to just see the world through the vegan child's eyes, that's all, and just differentiate their planning, teaching and learning accordingly. And so by the end of every session, because I make sure I smile and I laugh and I tell jokes and I'm approachable and I have these funny little brain breaks in between my training, I always come out with them saying, yes, this feels as though it's easy enough to do. I can still teach my year 2, 6 and 7-year-olds about animal welfare, but I don't need to bring real life chickens into the class to do that. They can learn about the life cycle without seeing an egg hatch right in front of them, because there are apps and there are websites and, there are little visits to sanctuaries that we can go on. And so I make them feel as though all they're doing really is just little tweaks to their practice. I'm not asking you to do a lot. I'm not asking you to do it immediately. It's a process. And I always offer them my, assistance and support moving forward. So generally positive after the initial, why is this vegan here?
Why is this? Yeah, if you just went in and shouted at them for 2 hours, you'd get probably quite a different response, wouldn't you? But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do want to go in and shout at them for 2 hours because there are children out there who are being denied food and who are having to learn things that clash with their ethics, and it's uncomfortable and it's horrible. And the older the children get as they're going into university and being told they have to dissect or they'll fail, I do speak to some families who are really genuinely sad, heartbroken. They feel really discriminated against. And so it is sometimes a lot for me to walk into these places and be all happy, smiley, go lucky. But that's my approach and it works. And for the most part, they're just sorry that they didn't understand in the first place, or they didn't have the time to go and properly research it so that they could understand it. And a lot of them do regret the way that they've acted and the way that they've made their vegan families feel. So I think I'm gonna lay off the shouting still and just continue with the informed education. How about that?
Yeah, it's a great bit of advocacy though, because you're telling them about how they can teach kids, teach the vegan child, as you say, but also you might just sow that seed in their head to make the teachers think about it.
I'm planting seeds as I go. So my training is split into thirds. My first third, I do actually talk to them about the main reasons why a family or a learner would choose to become vegan. And although I don't absolutely hammer them with statistics and images, like I just said, I do say, one of the main reasons might be for compassion for animals. And I talk about that ever so slightly. And then I talk about the environment and health and the fact that it's a social justice movement. And then I move on to the fact that vegans have rights and that we're protected by law and that they have a public sector duty to differentiate for these children and learners. So the first third is a little bit of they are kind of still in the why is this vegan here mode, because I do come in and I'm like, right, this is why you have to do this. But then any teacher worth their salt, then something in their brain will switch and they'll think, oh, actually, that stuff's really important. And then I do a little bit of a fun game with them where I talk about, I throw hundreds of pictures of images of famous vegans of all different ethnicities, colors, countries, everything, just all over the tables. And I say, split these celebrities into two piles, the vegans and the non-vegans. And the coup is they're all vegan. So then we're all laughing about, oh my goodness, misconceptions. So again, just planting seeds that anybody can become vegan. And then in the middle third, I talk about how they can be vegan inclusive in their practice. And I talk about what they can eradicate. So zoos and what's the plural? Aquaria and animal circuses. And so again, even though I'm talking to them about how they can enrich their curriculum, I'm also telling them that, you know, you can just take these things out and still get the same results, but it's actually a humane education that benefits everybody. Yeah. So yeah, so you know, I just try and tell them that it's really simple to do this. You know, you've learned in the first third that a vegan learner has chosen to become vegan because it's really, really, really important, and the earth is burning and we're all going to die and the animals are dying. But then, you know, if you just teach humane education, which is really simple, and talk about sanctuaries instead of zoos, it's fine. You'll be great. And then the final third is just for them to just take in what they've learned, ask me any questions, and just kind of give them my support and tell them, you know, everything's going to be okay. But planting seeds all the way along, the vegan message is there all the way along. And it's really, really, really kind of, I mean, I know you and I, we're vegans. We know the importance of being vegan. We know that we're against the clock. We know that the animals are suffering, but they don't know that. They don't know this is their first introduction to veganism, pretty much, beyond the parent asking for things and them getting it wrong constantly, which is why they then contact me. So I've got to be gentle. I can't go in with an agenda other than I want you to just differentiate for these kids. And it works. But the seeds are planted. Oh, I have one of my, just to give you a quick story before the next question, one of my children's nursery nurses came up to me and said to me that she wasn't sure whether or not she was allowed to use backyard hens eggs, and came to me to question me about it. Now, this woman had never met a vegan in her life, and now she's at home by herself thinking about backyard hens. So yeah, so I'm always planting seeds, as we always do, just indirectly.
Fantastic. I love that. That's a great bit of work, because it is an area that, as there are more and more vegans, it's going to be needed in the schools. You know, I'm on a couple of vegan parent Facebook groups, and there's so many occasions where, you know, the school have given out, you know, like gummy sweets that have got gelatin in, and, you know, trips to zoos and all that kind of thing. And you just think, oh God, it's just a minefield. Yeah,
it is. It's frustrating. And the thing is that a child's first entry into early years foundational settings, they are exposed to it the absolute most, because the way that the layout is in those classrooms is that they have little sections of real life areas where the children go and play. And I guarantee you there will be a farm section in every single one. So the first thing they're exposed to is, oh, let's go and play in the farm area. Then they're learning Old MacDonald had a farm, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, once we caught a fish alive. So they're singing about animals in captivity, and they're playing with animals in captivity. And then they will have mobile zoos coming in, so they'll be playing with animals who are in captivity, and the books that they'll be reading will be about going to the farm, going to the zoo. It's relentless, absolutely relentless.
And as we learned in school, Wes, and as we learned in school, Wes, cows make milk.
Yes, cows just make milk. That's what they
just make milk.
Oh, guys, honestly, it wasn't until I breastfed my first daughter, who is now 9, that I became vegan, because that's when I realized that. And I'd been vegetarian from having been 11 years old. It took me from the age of 11 to 30 of being vegetarian to actually learn and realize. So these, you know, and I was vegetarian, I was woke to the plight of the animals, apparently. You know, so you know, I've just got to have so much patience and understanding with these people who, like you guys, like all of us, we're all guilty of it, just thinking that cows make milk because it's part of their everyday thing. It's
Yeah.
you know, but I've said it before in presentations that it's absolutely no wonder when you look at the British education system, from being an early years foundation all the way up with all the animal use and abuse throughout the curriculum, that there are adults who genuinely cannot understand veganism as a concept. It doesn't surprise me in the least, because the curriculum hasn't changed in, you know, since we were kids, since our parents were kids. It just has not changed. Yes, there may be, you know, mindfulness coming into it and all these efforts to try and connect with the environment and whatnot, but in actual fact, the nuts and bolts of the curriculum hasn't changed in any way, shape or form. And that's why I strongly advocate for the humane education curriculum, because it just takes out the use and abuse of animals, which I think is such an easy thing to do once you get the hang of it. And I genuinely just wish that more teachers knew about this, which is why I'm very happy to be going around and talking to them.
Absolutely. So what made you go vegan then? What was the beginnings of it all for you?
It was basically, so having been vegetarian from 11, my grandma offered me a tongue sandwich, and I questioned why is it called tongue? That's a really peculiar name for a sandwich. So I went vegetarian pretty much there and then, from the age of 11 to 30. And then when I was pregnant, I know it's grim, isn't it? Tongue, they don't even hide it like beef. It's just gross. When I was pregnant with my first daughter, when I was 30, she was going to be born vegetarian. And so throughout my early maternity leave, I was breastfeeding and just Googling constantly healthiest vegetarian diet for a baby, Googling bringing up a vegetarian infant. And this word vegan just kept coming up and coming up and coming up. And because I was on maternity leave, I think I had a little bit of extra spare time in between her napping. And The Best Speech You'll Ever Hear by Gary Yourofsky came up onto my screen, and I just pressed play. To this day, I don't know who shared it or whose profile I found it on, who I can thank for this kind of lightning bolt of my life. I watched it from start to finish, cried the whole way through, and then became vegan halfway through it, and I've never looked back. And in fact, I kept it a secret from my daughter's dad for about 3 weeks, just to see if I could actually do it. And then I cried my eyes out to him saying, I want to be vegan. I think I need to be vegan, and the baby needs to be vegan. And he was just like, all right, cool, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, like he was just like, if that's what you want to do, go for it. And have been vegan ever since. I had my 40th birthday last December, so it's been a decade.
Happy birthday.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So you're a BC vegan, as we would say, before Cowspiracy.
Yeah.
We've worked out that Cowspiracy seems to have been a massive catalyst for people going vegan. So in that decade then, what was the greatest struggle for you over that time?
Woo, the greatest struggle over this decade, I'd say, it's difficult. You see, the thing is I think I've had it quite easy, because when my daughter was denied vegan food on the first day of her first new school experience, I was like, right, I'm ready for it, let's go. But her head teacher was really understanding and helped me work with the council to get that all implemented. We worked together and it was great, and they were great. And then she let me in to do the training. And then I think, do you know what? Since then, I've written the book and everything seems to have been great. And I've worked at the Vegan Camp Out, and I've met loads of families and have been inspired by loads and loads of amazing people. Come to think of it now, the hardest part has probably been listening to families who haven't had it quite as well as I did in that instance. So where my colleague, Dr. Rowley, and I have had to really bring people up from saying, you know, or they're on the floor saying, I don't know what to do other than bring my child out of formal education. Like, that's how misunderstood we are, basically. So for me personally, I feel like I've been on an onwards and upwards trajectory of, you know, my family are now vegan, my brother, wife, nephews, mum, all vegan.
Wow.
We're all doing great things in the community. But I think professionally for me, that has been hard, knowing that some families and some learners out there feel really alone and lost, and as if they haven't got anyone helping them, anyone understanding them. So yeah, so I would always just say to those people, if you're listening and you're one of them, do reach out to me if you do want support. And I'll always say, find your tribe as well. There's always going to be another vegan in your village. You just need to find them and ask for help. But yeah, that's the struggle. That's been the struggle and continues to be the struggle whilst I'm in post.
Yeah. Vistopia for a lot of people is a real major issue, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I run the Vistopia support group on Facebook.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, the first one that was, as soon as I read Claire Mann's book many years ago, I just thought, I need to find a tribe. I need help. So I started one, and it's real. It's still real. You know, a decade later, the Vistopia is still real. Sometimes even for me, even though I've learned a lot of coping mechanisms to get through the world, and for me, mostly that's activism and doing things and being present and being loud. But yeah, no, I really do feel for these families who are still going through it. I mean, the main thing that needs to change, firstly, is that the government need to state that there needs to be a plant-based option on every single public sector menu, like they've done in Portugal, because I can't imagine the amount of free time that would give me to actually make resources if I wasn't constantly just writing to school food services and caterers about the fact that they're being indirectly discriminatory by not providing a vegan meal. And secondly, there needs to be an education overhaul with an insertion of humane education. So they're my 2 life goals.
Not much then. pretty simple stuff.
Working towards them. I'm basically working towards those 2 life goals so that I don't have to work anymore. Once I've got both of those done, I'm done. That's it. The quicker it gets done, I can retire.
Fantastic. That's great.
So you said that your family's sort of all on board with stuff, but we do ask, like, what did your friends and family think about it when you changed? Did anyone kick off, or was everyone just lovely?
For the most part, everybody was absolutely fine. I'll never forget the first dinner party that I hosted, though, because I invited my next door neighbours who were relatively new to the town, but they were quite active politically. And I invited a couple friend of ours. I knew him through also being politically minded, and he was running to be the MP in our area. So quite outspoken and, you know, forthright, as you'd imagine anybody, you know, that high up in politics would be. And I made a fully vegan meal, and they were complimentary about that. That was absolutely fine. But they'd done a little bit of background research on Gary Yourofsky, who I was now hailing as my hero and my messiah, who'd come and had, you know, given me this amazing knowledge and whatnot. And I'll never forget that they fully backed me into a corner. They made me doubt that what he said was genuine because of his personality, that they thought they'd misconstrued something that they'd read about him, or people generally either like him or hate him. He's a bit of a Marmite character. And so by the end of the meal, I remember just being like, okay, I'm gonna read up more about him, and I'm gonna read more. And so because I hadn't practiced and I wasn't well versed at that point, I'd only been vegan for about a week. In kind of, you know, I can talk to anybody about it now, about any subjects, you know, a decade in, and you know, I'm still learning stuff. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot I still need to learn, especially where health is concerned, because I don't want to misquote or misrepresent or anything like that. But yeah, they just backed me into a corner. They used all their political might to just make me feel as though I was this big, and that it was a stupid decision because Gary Yourofsky was this horrible person. And if anything, that just made me more determined to learn so that I could become better at conversing. So I then spent a heck of a lot of time watching Earthling Ed, because I felt that the way that he conveyed his thoughts and the way that he spoke to people and the fact that he was question-led was something that really appealed to me, because I thought, if I'm going to get these politicians back in my house, I'm going to need to 180 or 360 this whole entire thing so that I can flip it onto them. And I've never had them back for dinner, actually, although we are all still friends. So maybe now is the time. But other than that,
it does suck at the beginning though, because people just want to do that, want to back you into that corner and annihilate you, and you haven't got any education on it.
That's it. You have nothing. They've got a whole life of them believing they're right and their viewpoint is correct, whereas you're brand new. And it's a scary, horrible place to be. I think the only other time I ever did anything, well, the one time I ever did anything super controversial was I put something on Facebook. Again, I'm full of dystopia. I've only just become vegan for about a month or so. And I put something like feeding your child meat is child abuse, basically. I know, pretty raw. And my husband made me take it off.
Yeah.
Because he just said, you know what, that, you know, you can believe what you believe, but I'm getting stuff left, right, and center from people just telling me that they think you've lost the plot. So those were just the two experiences that I had very, very, very early on in my veganism that I think did me a favor, because after that, my whole way of communicating with people about my new life choice changed.
Yes, it is really difficult those first few weeks and months, aren't they, when you're still learning, like you say, and especially social media as well, because you want to tell everyone, look at what you don't know, kind of thing. But then you just end up getting in fights all the time. And that just makes it worse. It's just extra stress that you don't need.
100%. I used to spend ages online, but again, it was practice, because the more that I wanted to be right and the more that I wanted to learn how to convince them properly, the more I would read and the more I would educate myself. And so I'm grateful for all those 2 a.m. arguments that I had online with some moron from Texas who was a cattle rancher. Like, honestly, it's just, you know, there were the thousands of them. I used to spend a lot of time arguing online, but it wasn't. But I knew that I was learning at the same time. It was my kind of impetus to learn more and be better at what I do. And it's led me to a position now where I'm in quite a well-known charity representing them. And I don't think, if I hadn't have done all that controversial stuff or been backed into those corners or taken part in those online debates, that I wouldn't be where I am right now, because I don't think I'd have felt confident enough to do so. But definitely in a point now where I can talk to anyone and know that, you know, what I'm saying is true and valid and important, and can state the case for veganism, especially in education.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's brilliant. So how did things change for you then, either physically or mentally, when you went vegan?
Oh, everything changed. Absolutely everything. Physically, well, I mean, I became vegan. There was a little bit of a gap between me doing the education thing and actually, so I was a teacher and became vegan kind of as just after my daughter was born, so 6 months after that. Then I worked for a little bit more as a teacher and then left. And in the space between that happening and her becoming 4 years old and starting school, I actually owned a vegan restaurant for a short period of time. Ooh. The problem is that I opened a vegan restaurant and then was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, stage 3 cancer, about 9 months after it being open. So health-wise, I know that's a bit of a bomb to drop on you guys. I don't, you know, I don't often tell people, well, I didn't do, because this is coming back to the health question. I was embarrassed of the fact that I'd put something online like, you know, eating meat is this, that, and the other. And then I've got cancer. I'm, you know, the only one of my friends who's got cancer, and none of them are vegan. And I just felt really embarrassed and ashamed about it back then. But actually now I'm really, really proud of the way that I handled the chemotherapy and the radiotherapy. And I attribute the fact that I am now 5 years in remission, and I've been discharged from cancer care now, because as soon as I was an unhealthy vegan. When I had my restaurant, I was a really unhealthy vegan. I didn't eat anything at a normal time. I was stressed, I was busy, burgers, chips, cake, whatever I could just grab off the menu, because I was neglecting my own health and well-being. When I actually got diagnosed with cancer, it was kind of the kick up the bum that I needed to then start looking into, well, you were vegan for the animals because you're a junk food vegan, basically, but now you need to be vegan for your health. So throughout the whole of my radiotherapy and my chemotherapy, I was raw vegan. Wow. People who were diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma at the same time that I was have since been re-diagnosed and have had to go through chemotherapy twice. I don't know 100% because I'm not a health professional, but I do attribute the fact that I went through chemo quite easily, didn't lose all my hair, wasn't sick once. I just was focused on being raw and healthy and living that kind of holistic lifestyle that you can imagine from somebody who had a wealth of people to draw information from the vegan circle. And so since then have always, I'm not raw anymore, but I've always held the whole foods plant-based diet to be what I advocate for and what is best for us as humans. And occasionally at the vegan camp out, I'll have a burger because the Mocky D's, shout out, are amazing. But yeah, health wise, I genuinely think that the cancer and the veganism and it all happening in one go has just been the best thing that could have happened to me. So my mindset is very positive about what we put into our bodies. I don't drink alcohol anymore. I very rarely have caffeine. It's like everything's just switched. So obviously mind, body and soul feel better than they ever have been. I still get down. Things still do get me down. You know, I still have to work on the dystopia and the happy mental health and, you know, eco side all around me and all that stuff. And so it's not all happy-go-lucky. Being vegan is the best thing ever. There's still lots of obviously negatives that I have to work on and work towards and work with. And, you know, the thing that I spoke about earlier in my profession where I have to help people who have been discriminated against, all those things still bother me. But I think it has been and always will be the best decision I ever made. And I wish I'd have done it sooner.
Yeah. How long have you been sober for?
Oh, not too long, just since last year.
Right.
But my goodness, what a difference.
It's mad, isn't it? I've been sober now just over 2 years. And I got to, like you were saying about how you still have like them down days. And I had one, I was at Rochdale Feel Good Festival last summer. And got to the end of the day and I just went, I just don't have any joy in my life. Just don't think of everyone else around me is getting drunk and having a party. And I'm like, I'm enjoying the music.
Well, that's the thing. I was saying to my friend,
you have to reframe these things, don't you?
You do. I was saying to my friend yesterday, like, I don't feel like I've been tested quite yet because I'm not at a vegan barbecue in the summer with everyone vibing and great music, and like it's been a really dark, cold, lonely, miserable autumn winter where I've been hibernating, and so I don't really feel like I've been properly tested yet. Like I've not been to the vegan camp out, I've not been to a festival yet, I haven't but I just genuinely don't feel like I need it right now. Like I think I'm focusing on work a lot because this is my busiest time of year with all the chick hatcheries and the butterfly hatcheries and the visits to go and see all the little new baby lambs. So yeah, I've not been quite tested yet, but the mental clarity and just not eating pizza at 3 a.m. and having hangovers, it's just great. It's just great. It's just great. So yeah, I'm happy to just continue doing that for now.
Yeah. What's the best thing about being vegan, do you think?
Oh my goodness. The best thing about being vegan is just knowing that I'm part of a social justice movement that is just kicking ass. And there's so many wins. There's so many wins all of the time. In our Vegan Society Teams channel, we've got obviously lots of places where we can just post things that we've read on social media that might be useful to somebody's work. And it's just constant. This is happening, that's happening, this is happening, that's happening. So for me personally right now, I'm absolutely loving the plant-based universities. Shout out to Vanya, a friend of mine whose work I follow very closely. They're just smashing it now, just university after university. I mean, recently, one university, I think it was in Edinburgh, perhaps, they voted not to go vegan, annoyingly. But, you know, at least they're having the conversation, and others are doing it. Oxford, Cambridge, you know, that's brilliant.
Laura, you have no way of knowing this. And to anybody listening, they're going to think we've planned this. But in the intro, Wes brought up the fact that Edinburgh University have just voted against going plant-based.
Right. Oh, okay. Well, because it's just happened. It's in the news. It's relevant. We've all got our fingers on the pulse.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's annoying. But I still see that as a little win, because they're talking about
it's being talked about. Yeah,
it's being talked about it. And so there's just loads of really, really good stuff happening all the time. My colleagues and I are constantly posting. And we're constantly being invited to speak on radio, on TV. And so I just think the best thing about being vegan is knowing that we're in the right, knowing that everybody's catching on. It's a slow burner, and that's the most frustrating thing, the fact that it's such a slow burner. But the trajectory is going upwards. And if you read anything in the news that's negative, it's just propaganda. It's propaganda. Like, I don't live in a bubble. I know, you know, these things are real. They are true. The trajectory is going up. We are slowly but surely making a huge, big difference. And I love being a part of that. Yeah. I love theorizing vegan inclusive education. And now it's a thing. I have industry colleagues. It used to be just me in a little kind of cocoon of my own, just trying to be like, please, will people pay attention for me? And now I work at the Vegan Society, and like I say, there are other people. Ruth Jenkins, an amazing industry colleague, friend of mine. Just there's loads of people out there I could shout out. You know, Tina Newman is the author of Vivi the Super Vegan, which is an amazing children's book series, which I never could have imagined when my daughter first started school, being something that I could work on and encourage teachers to use. And there's too many people out there for me to name, but that's the brilliant thing, that they're all working and it's all going upwards. So you know, I could mention health, I could mention environment, I could mention, you know, the animals and all these things, but I genuinely think that the best thing for me about being vegan is being part of something magical that children and grandchildren and great grandchildren forever and a day will be grateful for, that we all stuck our necks out and really believed in and worked hard for.
That's amazing. Yeah,
that's fantastic. So now, you mentioned previously that you had followed a raw whole food plant-based diet. So this is a key bingo question. Where do you get your protein?
Oh, my protein comes from nuts. I am an absolute nutaholic. Pulses. I honestly, I open cans of baked beans and eat them cold from the can. I open cans of chickpeas and I eat them cold from the can. I swear to you, I open jars of peanut butter. I'm giving myself as like an impression that I'm a really lazy cook. But I just open things and eat them from straight from there with a spoon. But I do, and my children do it too. It's a terrible example that I'm setting to them, but they love nothing more than being given a couple of little spoons and a jar of peanut butter.
Brilliant.
Well, that's a lot better than some of the things they could be eating. So that's,
well, yeah, exactly.
That's great.
There's no guilt that comes with feeding them nuts, because I know there's loads of protein in it. There you go. Yeah, but I know I do actually. I currently am using the Mindful Chef, because it just takes away the stress of thinking, what am I going to have for dinner tonight? And their vegan options, I don't work for them. This is just, there are other delivery food boxes available, but I just love the fact that I'm learning a lot from them, because you can just choose a different variety of food for each night that suit the family from all around different continents. And so I'm learning a lot. It's like having a mini chef come into your house every night and just tell you what you need to do and how you're going to do it. So I'm not that lazy a cook. I just like to
So
eat things when I can.
is that similar to the Gusto kind of thing where they send
Yeah,
you the
yes,
ingredients and the
similar.
recipe card and then off you go?
That's right. Similar idea.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it just means that I get all my nutrients without having to think about it because they do the hard
Yes.
work for you. They kind of know what you need and send it to your door. Because I'm
I
a
like the
busy,
sound of that.
hard-working mum. I can't have it all. I can't be going shopping as well.
No, that's the thing. It's one of the struggles that we found at the start was seeing people posting on Instagram and stuff about, you know, we had this for dinner today, and then we had this for dinner, and we had this for lunch, and all that sort of thing. And you're like, you must spend all your
Yeah,
day prepping food. Like we
yeah,
both work full time. How on earth are we supposed to make
yeah.
this work for us? It's so hard.
It really is. It really is. But you know, it's just every now and then you just stick in some corn rawsums and just still know that you're good people.
Yeah. Yes, that's a great way of looking at it. Yeah,
I'm
Yeah.
yeah, I
looking
like
forward to trying raw chickpeas now in a can.
Honestly, I could eat raw chickpeas all day long and roasted. Chickpeas are the one for me.
I
They
did
are
see
the
the thing
absolute
of roasted
hummus,
chickpeas the other day. So
roasted chickpeas on top of hummus.
that. Oh,
Just that's me done.
it's like chickpeas on a bed of chickpeas. That's
It's
amazing.
chickpeas on a bed of chickpeas, stuffed in chickpeas with a whole like that's it. That's the one for me. I'm a happy Laura if I'm just eating chickpeas. In fact, I don't know the name of it, but I had a packet of something the other day that was called cookies and cream chickpeas. If anybody knows the name of this brand, because I opened them up, ate it, and then threw away the packet without even really realizing what I'd had, but because I just had like a flake moment where I just disappeared into silence, just like a heavenly. You couldn't taste the chickpeas. It was chocolatey and divine, but they were amazing.
was it Brave? Roasted chickpeas, cookies and cream flavor.
It might have been. Have you just Googled it?
Yeah,
Yeah, it might
yeah.
have been. I highly recommend. I'm not being paid by them either, but I highly endorse them because they are delicious.
Brilliant.
Okie dokie.
So, what advice would you give to someone who came to you saying, "Laura, I want to go vegan. What do I do?"
So the first thing that I would do would probably just say, brilliant, well done, and then hound them and just completely stay in contact with them and make sure that I just was asking them all the time if they needed any help and invite them around for dinner. And also to be kind to themselves and realize they're going to make mistakes and just find your tribe. It's so important to find your tribe. I have several vegan tribes from different areas and walks of life, and they're all very different. You know, you have your level 5, level 10 vegans and whatnot. I have a variance of numbers of levels of vegans, but just find your tribe. Absolutely. You know, I've got a vegan hairdresser, a vegan beautician, a vegan shopkeeper friend, vegan, you know, just eventually after a decade, and that's how long it takes, you realize that you can live a fully vegan life and surround yourself with vegans. And if you don't live anywhere with vegans, move to Brighton. Right, have you not been to
Yes.
Brighton?
No.
Unbelievable. Oh, I went for an event because I was on a panel talking at a film called Eating Our Way into Extinction, which is brilliant. And so the train station is here and the event was down a road and left. And in that space of time, I saw the word vegan 40 times at least. Everything, everywhere was vegan. I felt like I was in some kind of
Brilliant.
utopian world. It's absolutely remarkable.
Fantastic.
So
Right.
I
if
love
you don't
that.
have a vegan
Nice to
tribe
hear.
where you live, move to Brighton.
Wow.
It's worth relocating for, because I couldn't imagine living in a place where there wasn't anything there that believed in you or supported you or encouraged you or just it's worth moving and relocating.
That must be really difficult. One of the greatest parts about being vegan for me, and Wes loves it when I talk about this, has been being a member of Vegan Runners, because I mean, as it turns out, there's 2 who live within a mile of me, and we'll meet up most weekends and do park run, travel around, meet other vegans. I've met so many vegans through Vegan Runners. It's absolutely incredible.
They're so
It's
good.
Most of them have been on.
most of them have been on the podcast.
Yeah, well, brilliant. That's how you find your tribe.
That's it.
Go to, I encourage people to go to vegan. I don't go to vegan festivals anymore because I just spend a bunch of money on chocolate and cheese and stuff, which I just don't need to do. But I encourage all newbies to go because that's where you find your tribe. It's just, and I think with online groups and communities and chats and whatnot, it's easier now than ever to do it online. But I do think you need that physical connection of, especially if you've got children. So I just recently went to the vegan kids residential run by Dana, shout out, she's amazing.
Yeah.
And so my 9-year-old and my 1-year-old got a chance to just hang out with a bunch of other vegan kids for the weekend.
Wow.
Just amazing. We all had the best time. And sometimes you'd hear the kids just being like, are you vegan? Are you vegan? Like 2 or 3 days in, just want to check, you're definitely vegan. And just because they couldn't fathom it. It's just remarkable. So just being around other people, even if it's just for weekends like that, I would so encourage anybody just to find your tribe.
Yes.
And vegan runners are amazing. When I had my restaurant, we sponsored the vegan Manchester vegan runners, I think, and I have my logo.
Oh, really?
That t-shirt, I've still got it upstairs.
Oh,
But
awesome.
there couldn't have been that many. There couldn't have been that many.
No, maybe not. Certainly vegan camp out for me was such an eye-opener to be in a field with thousands and thousands of other vegans, and all of a sudden you're like, it's not just me.
Yeah.
It's not just like the 10 people that I know in real life. It's actually loads of us.
There is nothing more fulfilling or exhilarating than being at the vegan camp out, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal. And this year they're expecting over 10,000, biggest one ever. And like the worst part is the journey home, where you have to go into a service station. You realize that you've got to start talking about milk again and just double checking all the ingredients again.
You forget. Yeah, it's
really like the come down is so hard from camp out.
Yeah, we both hit the ground with a bit of a crash, didn't we, Wes, when we came back and had to go back to work, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, it is just me.
Yeah. But I think that the knowledge of knowing it's not just you also carries you for a few more months as well, even though the crash can be hard. But yeah, I mean, to know that there's 10,000 at least who would pay money to go and be with each other is absolutely brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than knowing that you're not just the only one.
100%.
That's very true. Very true. Very true. Okay, so you mentioned Gary Yourofsky earlier on, and there's been plenty of others you've mentioned as well, but who's your vegan inspiration at the moment?
Oh, vegan inspiration at the moment. Crikey. All those people who I've mentioned are doing brilliant work. Yourselves, of course, obviously.
That's it. Hey, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Bye.
You're the best. It's difficult because I follow so many people and there's a million running through my head right now. Vegan kids are brilliant. There's the little vegan squirrel who's out there doing some amazing stuff. Zactivist, I also really admire. He's a teen out there doing some brilliant activism.
Ooh, not heard of Zactivist.
Yeah, he's a force to be reckoned with. He did a brilliant talk at the vegan camp out a couple of years ago, so I highly recommend you follow him. He's just ruthless and relentless, great kid. There's just my colleague Dr. Jeanette Rowley, who I mentioned earlier, she's a powerhouse. I follow everything she does. She's amazing. The Vegan Society staff are all absolutely magnificent. You'll never meet a bunch of more hardworking people. Each one of them wakes up every day and puts their all into making sure that vegans are supported. and I'm going to kick myself and kill myself for not
Oh, don't do that.
I feel like when
Don't
you've
do
been
that.
giving an Oscar and you forget to thank the producer or something. My Education Network are absolutely brilliant. My Education Network is built up of a group of professionals who are all in one way or another connected through wanting to support and develop children and young learners in education. We all come together once a month and we create resources together. So they do that in their free time, their spare time. So the volunteer network at TVS, the Education Network, all of just, you know, my mum,
Your agent.
it's not very specific because I just think I'm not really following. I don't really go on social media that much at the moment. So there's no one specific who I'm following to kind of be watching their journey. So I'm just thinking of past people who inspired me. But yeah, no, I work with the most inspiring bunch of people in the world. So it's just got to be the TVS team. I work in campaigns, policy and research, and they're doing some magical stuff.
That must be so rewarding. And also to work with vegans day in, day out to further the cause. That's just absolutely fantastic.
I remember saying to my husband when I first started working there, I can't wait for the Christmas party because it's and then COVID hit, and so we didn't have one.
Oh no.
Well, we were just coming out of lockdown, so we didn't actually have one. It was really annoying. So this December, I can't wait for the Christmas party because everybody's vegan. Yeah, it's a dream to be working alongside people who all have the same goal as you.
Yeah.
And it's like when I had the restaurant, for example, when I had to step away to do all my treatments, it was a brand new business pretty much, but because they were all vegan, they wanted it to succeed more than I did. So they were like, come on guys, let's do this for Laura, let's do this for the vegans, let's do this for the animals. You'll never meet a more dedicated bunch of people than vegans who want to change the world. So shout out to all the vegans, young and old.
Of course. So do you have hope for the future?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I just mentioned a couple of kids there off the top of my head, but you know, when you see what the students are leading at universities and the campaigns that they're putting forward, strikes for Friday and whatnot, I genuinely feel as though we're doing all we can, but they're going to be the absolute game changers. And so I do have hope. I do. There's going to be more rebellion and there's going to be more revolutions, and it's going to be beautiful. I'll be too old to join in by then. I'll have done my bit. I'll have retired after having achieved my life goals. But yeah, I do have hope for the future because eating animals, I feel, is something that is going to become really outdated quite soon, like smoking. And I feel as though when the Western world sees more interference due to climate change, that will, you know, speed things up a little bit. And so, you know, our entire reason for being here is to survive, to procreate. And so I think we will survive and we will procreate and we will want clean air and water to do that. I think humans have been and can be very, very thoughtless at times. But yeah, I do have hope. I really, really do. And once this humane education comes in and we start teaching the correct things from school, then, you know, I won't be saying, you know, it's totally understandable that whole generations can't understand veganism as a concept. And I'll be saying things such as, you know, we should have done this ages ago. Look how peaceful and loving and kind and compassionate our upcoming generations are.
Look what they used to do.
Sorry, guys.
Look what they used to do.
Yeah, exactly.
That's mind blowing, isn't it? If you think about what it could be, the best case scenario for the future that they could turn around and go, they used to eat animals. Can you believe that?
Yeah, 100%. I think Simon Amstell nailed nailed it on the head. I can't think what the thing is. Nailed it with his film. Remind me of the name, guys. See Carnage. Thank you.
I've not
Yeah.
seen it yet, but apparently
Oh, you will love it, Wes. Carnage is
No,
absolutely.
I haven't seen. I can't find it anywhere. I've been looking since
Oh.
camp out. I just can't find it.
Ah, right. Okay. Oh, well, that's a shame.
I was worried
Um,
about what you were going to say.
it would have been
Simon
great.
Anderson didn't quite nail anything at camp out last year.
Ah,
Did you see him?
I didn't manage to catch him. No, I think I was doing my disco over in the
He
family
just
area.
went full stand up, like inappropriate.
Yeah.
But
Wes wished he'd been at the disco in the family area with his kids when Simon Amstel was on, because it was
Right,
not
okay.
family friendly.
yeah,
Oh, right, okay. Oh, okay.
he
Gotcha.
came out and he went, "I don't know what you lot are expecting, but it's not going to be appropriate."
Okay, well,
Okay then.
at least he was honest.
Yeah.
But no, Carnage is brilliant because he taught in that it's I think it's quite appropriate, family appropriate. I can't
Yeah.
remember. I saw it a long time ago, but yeah, he talks about when we used to eat meat and it's quite funny. So yeah, I have hope. I have loads of hope because my work is predominantly around kids and children and education, and that's where things can be taught and learned.
Yeah. You've got to portray that
Yes.
in your job, haven't you?
Yeah. I'm trying to refrain from saying cliches like the children are our future, but I've even all these years later, I've still not come up with a really good, smart alternative.
It's true though, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
you think about, like you've mentioned all the progress that's been made recently, and that's with kids being brought up the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
Once
we're just having
humane
life
education, once humane education is the default,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
how is it going to change, and how quickly it's going to change? It's going to be amazing.
It's going to be beautiful, and I can't wait. Aye.
We're very much looking forward to it. You've given me hope. Definitely.
I'm very pleased to hear it.
Sometimes you look at the headlines of the forthcoming apocalypse and you think, oh God, why do we bother?
Yeah, I
But
know.
yeah,
It's
we'll get there.
difficult. It is difficult, but it will get to, I think it will get to a point where there'll be no other choice and no other alternative. And it's kind of, we may as well just do this now. We may as well get on board with it. And then before they know it, people who've been eating meat all their life, who are now suddenly stopping, will reap the benefits of their health and think, oh, actually, and I don't know why I was so afraid of this.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
but you're right. It's only when we start getting our countries are affected directly by climate change and things like that stuff's going to really happen. And my only concern is it'll be too late by then.
Yeah, I know it is. It is a worry. Obviously, it's a worry. But I think there are enough people out there now doing what they can, as much as they can, and infiltrating politics and resisting, and it's all just that. I mean, wouldn't it be ridiculous if humanity just made themselves extinct? Watching that film I spoke about in Brighton, Eating Our Way to Extinction, it just seems as though we can't be that stupid as a species. I'd like to actually go full throttle. I don't know. I've still just got hope that enough of us will do enough stuff for it to be okay.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
No. Doom and gloom if you want. Like, I get it. Like,
no, honestly, definitely not.
I talk about species extinction with kids, and that's horrific, and dead zones, and that's horrific, and there's a lot of horrific, awful stuff. I don't want to belittle the fact that, of course, there are disgraceful, disastrous things happening all around us, but we do have a little bit of time. We do have a little bit, so stay focused. We'll
get there. We'll get there.
Got this.
Well, thank you ever so much for that. We've literally got a minute and a half left.
Hey.
At the end. So thank you ever so much for coming. We've finally got here. It's been
so
thanks, Laura. That's been great.
I'm so
you
pleased.
so
I'm really
much.
looking forward to seeing you both at the vegan camp out. Will you come over and say hello in the family area, even if you don't have any children?
Of course we will.
Yeah, as long as we don't
Yay.
end up on a
Or I'll
register,
come
that'll
and
be
meet
fine.
yeah, or I'll come and meet you to speak to Ramesh and convince him that he needs to support your podcast.
Yes. Yeah.
Sponsored by Ramesh. There you go.
Yeah.
All
That's
right,
fantastic.
guys.
Thank
Thanks,
you
Laura. That's been
for your
brilliant. Thank
time.
you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.
That was a great episode.
It was good, wasn't it?
Really good.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. Great guest. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, she's
And-
awesome. Very positive and
Yeah.
engaging. I like that.
Yes.
Not to take anything away from any of our previous guests. They've all been great.
Good save. Good save. Yeah. Really good episode, and we look forward to releasing that one and potentially seeing her at Vegan Camp Out
Yeah, as if you know the name of it.
in just 3 months.
In only 3 months' time. That's like a quarter of the year.
Yeah,
Be fine.
that's good.
No, it's really good.
Good. Awesome. Okie dokes. Well, what else is there to say except thanks for listening, and find us on social media, and tell all your friends.
Tell your friends, like, comment, leave a review. Leave a review. Because we're supposed
Subscribe.
to subscribe, click the bell, all that stuff. Don't do me like that.
I couldn't work out what you meant. Click the bell. I don't know what that means.
Notifications.
Oh, so you know when the new episode arrives.
Exactly.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So yeah, and if you do want to get in touch with us and leave us some lovely feedback or not so good feedback if you think we're rubbish, you can send us an email at howIveganpodcast@gmail.com, or just go to any of our socials and message us there.
Follow the links.
That's how great we are.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Cheers, guys. See you
Speak to
later.
you soon.
Bye.